Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Matthew Answers the Internet, the question and answer show where I, with a lot of your help, aim to answer all of the world's burning board game questions. The first one is contentious. I tell you, it's which publisher makes the best board games? That's rather subjective, I would say, rather than objective. I guess there's a lot of factors that go into that, right? I mean, some publishers have printed like a couple games, 2 games, new publisher, 2 games. They've both been amazing. Does that make them the best publisher by percentage-wise, 100% hit rate, rather than a publisher that's got 6,000 games because they've been doing it for 50 years? Their hit rate's not going to be as high. There's no way. They're not all good. Do we mean the best produced games? The best quality product? The games that are the highest ranked on Board Game Geek? I did a little bit of delving into some data of my own personal board game collection. I used a website. It's called, because of board games, it's called geekgroup.com. If you've watched any of my other episodes of this, you'll know how I feel about that. It collates all your data. It takes your Board Game Geek collection and it gives you lots of categories, information, which we love as board gamers, don't we? We love a bit of info. It's great. But one way it sorts games is by publisher. So I am basing this on which publisher do I own the most games of, thus making them, in my opinion, the best publisher, I guess. That doesn't necessarily make sense. Now I'm aware of that. I will say that this list that I've got, it's sorted them out a little bit wonky in my opinion. For instance, I own 22 Hams im Gluck games, but not every game that is on that list do I own a Hams im Gluck version of. It's just Hams im Gluck have printed that game. But I own 22 Hams im Gluck. I own 22 Amigo games, which I thought would be my number 1. I really did. I've got so many little small box card games. I was sure Amigo would be the number 1 on this list. 23 Rio Grande games, surprising absolutely nobody. And the top 2, surprised, I would have told you this list just off the top of my head. I own 26 Ravensburger games. Again, massive, long-standing publisher. I own 29 Cosmos games. Now, Cosmos would probably be my pick if I had to pick my favourite board game publisher. Do they make my absolute favourite games? Not necessarily, but they consistently, in my opinion, make fantastic games. Who's your favourite publisher and why? Let me know below. I'd love to see if we could see some kind of consensus. But before we go on to the next question, we have another publisher to talk about, and they're the ones that sponsored this week's episode. This episode is made possible in part by the Disney Plus story arc for the Versus System 2-player card game from Upper Deck. The first set of this series, which kicks off the Disney Plus arc, includes characters from Wanda Vision, including Wanda Maximoff and Vision, who find themselves in an alternate reality with a loving family and no memory of the Infinity War. And the second set in the Disney Plus story arc brings the Falcon and the Winter Soldier into the fray. Sam takes on the Captain America mantle and teams up with the villain Baron Zemo to fight new threats. Follow the link in this video's description to find these first 2 expansions in the Disney Plus story arc now at your friendly local game store and, of course, upperdeckstore.com. And look forward to Loki's arrival in the Versus System 2-player card game this December, where the venerable villain and a variety of variants time travel their way into the game as well. The next question, it's the holiday season. Right, it's official. I've been in the shops. I've seen. Christmas, it's a-coming. Certainly the holiday season of all varieties is on its way. And the next question is, what are the best games to play with non-gamers during the holidays? They've shown an interest. They've got an inkling, a gleam in their eye. They've looked at your board game collection and gone, what's wrong with this person? What's happening? All those colourful boxes. I want to know more. Now, I've gone around this in 2 different ways. What are great games to play over the holidays with people who are new to games, but also, what are some great holiday themed games? Maybe that's a way to get them in there. There aren't enough holiday themed games. I think I shouted this in the last episode. I don't think there are enough seasonal games, full stop. I've also tried to pick games that don't get picked as often. So I tried to pick some more obscure games for the list that might have gone underlooked as well. And the first one isn't necessarily that obscure, it's Picomino. Picomino is a wonderful Reiner Knizia game where you are rolling dice and trying to collect worm tokens and trying not to bust. It's a push your luck set collection game of trying to collect these really nice Baker-like pieces. And that's something that gets people into the game. Just the pieces are so tactile and nice to touch. I lent this game to my brother. He took it on holiday with him to Italy to his wife's mother's house and mother-in-law's house, and taught it to the family there. They loved it. In fact, he gave my copy to them, and then now I had to get a new copy, which was fine. The next one is one of the best card games of all time, No Thanks. It's been published a bunch of times. The version I've got, I think, is by Z-Man. It's a wonderful game, again, of almost pushing your luck. You're bidding on these different cards. You're trying to create sets of cards. You don't want to get stuck with cards that don't help you get points because you need the runs of cards to get points. No Thanks is a classic card game. It stood the test of time. I don't think it gets talked about as much now as it used to, but I think No Thanks stands up as one of the best card games of all time. Another one is, you can see it just here, Drop It, a Cosmos game where you are dropping these different pieces into this sheet between two pieces of plastic, and you're trying to get them on different levels to score points. You don't want to touch like pieces, circle, that type of thing, a green and a green. It's a game that is infinitely frustrating and wonderful to play. At the start, everyone's just dropping pieces in, going, okay, cool. And by the end of it, you're going, okay, I need to do this right, otherwise the world ends. And then it goes wrong, and it bounces, and all of your hopes and dreams are shattered before you. Wonderful game to play with all the family. Another one that is really great fun, I think, is a game for families, is Just One and So Clover. I've grown to really like Just One, a game where everyone gives one clue answers to get the person to try and guess what word that is the common word. And So Clover, you have this clover card, and each side of the clover is going to have two words. You're going to give one clue to match those the words that are the edges of the clover. So you're giving 4 one-word clues for your opponents for everyone else to guess the 8 different words in which orientation they go onto your grid. 2 wonderful, easy to teach, easy to learn, quick playing, fun party games to play at Christmas. Wonderful games. If you want a racing game at Christmas, I had a long think about this. What's the best racing game to introduce a lot of people to? And I came up with Downforce. It's certainly not the simplest racing game, but it is one of my absolute favourite racing games. I guess Flamme Rouge or Snowtails could also fit into this category. But I landed on Downforce because it's such an exciting game, and the actual movement is very simple. You've got these cards that you can move all the different cards that are out on the board, and the fun part for me is that you bet on who's going to win. I always go green. I always bet on myself, and I either win massive or I lose. And you're betting on the different cards, and the good thing about that is that nobody's ever out of the game. That's something I think is important for families. You're never out because your card doesn't have to win. You just need to bet on the right things to win. 2 little card games I think are wonderful to play with a family are Cover Your Assets, which is by Grandpa Beck's Games, where you're trying to collect sets of cards. They've all got different values, but you're trying to collect sets so that you can place them down, and then you want to cover what you've placed down because you can steal from other players. I've had so much fun playing Cover Your Assets with people in the past. It's a game I was criminally overlooked. Oh, it's so much fun. You don't want people to know that you've just put a really big set down. You know, you want to kind of hide that, and then you want to put a small set on top and then hopefully another set on top, and big winners become big losers, and it's a game of revenge. I love Cover Your Assets. And another one is Fumph Gherkins, or whatever it's called. 5 Cucumbers, I believe, is the British title. It's a simple trick-taking card game. There's lots of trick-taking card games out there. There's even Christmassy themed ones, but 5 Cucumbers is simple. It's fun and easy to learn, and it's quirky because it's about cucumbers. I think that's a really good one to play. I would highly recommend that. For a big group at Christmas, you have to play Fuji Flush, another card game that I just love. Fuji Flush is a game where you're trying to get rid of your hands of cards and you put a card down, but if someone plays a higher card, you have to take your card, that card gets discarded, you have to draw back up. But if it gets all the way around to you, then you get to discard that card and not draw back up, and you're trying to get rid of all your cards. But the thing is, the twist is that if I play a 2 down and then the next person plays a 2 down, that's now worth 4. And if the next person plays a 2 down, that's now worth 6. So in order for everyone to get rid of those cards and draw back up, the next person has to play an even higher card. Or they can get rid of their low card, their 2, by going in on these 2s that are all trying to win the race. It's so much fun. It has everyone chanting all the time. It really brings out some camaraderie in people, and then immediately you get to stab them in the back, which is great fun. And the last game that I think is absolutely brilliant at Christmas, it's also the only Christmas themed game that I have on this list. There needs to be more holiday games, and that is a game called Christmas Lights. It has a feel of Hanabi about it, but it's very different in many ways. You have these pattern cards in front of you that you're trying to put all your light bulbs into this string of Christmas lights. You've got a hand of cards and they are facing away from you, so you will know what your opponents have, but you don't know what you have. And on your turn, what you do is you hold your cards and you can pick someone else's card and put it into your cards. And that's a way for you to now know what one of your cards is. You can also get a card from the draw deck and give a card up from your hand as well. So essentially you're gathering information, because you can also sell cards to get information. You can say, what is this card? You know, you can try and get more information about your hand as the game goes on. And then when you get the chance to, you can play a card down into the sequence of lights that you're trying to create. It's a really great little card game that I think is just wonderful. Looks lovely, great production. There's a few variants in the box as well. I think it makes a great game to play over the holidays. What are the holiday games that you like? What are the games that you think work great with non-gamers and gamers alike over the holidays? And our bonus points definitely go to anyone who can tell me some really great festive games that have got a festive theme about them. You can justify your abstract card game with a festive theme, extra bonus points goes to you. And while it's late November, I imagine the United States have just celebrated their specific Thanksgiving holiday. The question I found is, what games are you thankful for? Well, I'm thankful for a lot more than just games in the hobby. Games are great. I'm glad the games exist, but the hobby there's so many other things I'm thankful for that supersede games, I really believe. I mean, I'm firstly thankful for the people who work so hard on these projects, these passion projects, to make the games. These people who are in their dark desk rooms conceiving and writing rule sets to games, people who are making the art for games, people who are making schematics for inlays, these people who make board games. I'm really thankful that people are out there following their passion to make board games. But what specific games am I thankful for? That's what people want to know. And it might surprise you. I'm thankful to Munchkin. Munchkin was one of those games that really got me into the hobby. I remember playing Munchkin and just having so much fun doing it. It's a game I will always have a little soft spot in my heart for, because it's also got so many other people into the hobby. And on the flip side, the Castles of Burgundy opened my world to all the games that I love, you know. That's the game that taught me that these games that looked studious could be so much fun. Munchkin might have got me into the hobby, and then the Castles of Burgundy eventually cemented me into the hobby, you know. What are you thankful for? Let's try and have a big positive list of things and reasons we are thankful for in the hobby. What games are you thankful for? What things in the hobby are you thankful for? Let me know. We did something similar last year and it was really wonderful to read, so let me know. And that's it. That's all the questions I have for you this time. Until next month, I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, everyone.